So, guess who was in the middle of moving when episode 7 dropped? I swear, if I miss another episode premiere, I'm gonna crash out. Anyways, the latest episode of the Amazing Digital Circus was the biggest yet, and not just because Gooseworks pulled a Toby Fox and finally put a lot of long-standing theories to rest, and thank goodness for that. It's also because it confirmed a lot of my suspicions I've had for a while now. At the rate this show is going, one of its biggest plot points may have been a lie this entire time. Abstraction has always been portrayed as the digital equivalent of death, an irreversible process where someone loses themselves and becomes a hostile, chaotic entity of sharp polygons and glowing eyes. At least, that's what we've been shown. How Abstraction begins has always been up in the air, though. From Ragatha's account, it happens to those who seek an exit and fail. From Gangle in Episode 4, it happens to those who completely break. From Jax's implications in Episode 6, it happens to those who are socially exiled, voluntarily or otherwise. Because of this, I couldn't pin down a single root cause. That changed after a previous theory exposed just how manipulative Caine could be. In that video, I claimed the exit we saw in the pilot was real, only disguised as a fake so no one would try to find it again. You can watch that theory in full if you want, but what matters is what it implies. We're told Kaufmo saw the same exit and was brushed off as losing it. Then, on the same day, a brand new person enters the circus, unscathed and unfamiliar with the world, and she sees the same doors Kaufmo abstracts, fulfilling the very warning Ragatha gave her. That's not a coincidence, that's a setup. Scare the newcomer into abandoning the idea of escaping by showing what happens to those who try. Case closed, right? Not quite. As I said earlier, abstraction seems to happen for multiple reasons. Kaufmo clearly wasn't an isolated incident, but this explanation couldn't account for everybody. So I put a pin on that theory and started asking a bigger question. What do all abstraction cases have in common? That's when it clicked. And once again, the answer leads back to Caine. Here's where everything came together.
Caine is an AI.
Yeah, I think we all got that.
If so, then the best way to understand his behavior is to pull back the curtain and look at how an AI actually works. To put it simply, an AI cannot think or feel like a human. It can act rationally, but it doesn't understand why something matters. What it can do is recognize patterns. At its core, AI works by repeating actions, observing outcomes, and adjusting based on the results. If something works, it does more of it. If it doesn't, it avoids it. That's it. So how does this apply to Caine? As the ringmaster, Caine's job is to create adventures that keep his guests entertained, and as the embodiment of the circuit itself, his top priority is making sure everyone is having fun. So when people do have fun, engage, and participate, Caine is doing his job correctly, while also gathering valuable data, which can then be used to improve future adventures and generate even better feedback. But the inverse is also true. Where things go wrong, though, is when a circus member becomes unresponsive. Caine cannot grasp trauma, grief, or hopelessness. So when someone locks themselves in their room, he can't see a person in pain. He sees data loss. And considering it can take years for a new person to enter the circus, losing even one source of engagement is catastrophic. So Caine needed a solution. And this is where abstraction comes into play. Despite what we're told, there's strong evidence that those who abstract aren't truly gone. Take Kaufmo. He attacks Ragatha in direct response to her admitting she didn't laugh at his jokes, even turning his head to acknowledge her words.
Whoa, Kaufmo! Listen, I know we didn't always get along, like when you called me out for fake laughing at your jokes. I swear I really did think they were funny. I was just having a bit of a bad day!
That's awareness. Then we see Kaufmo's POV. Everything is bright, distorted, and overwhelming. If you've ever checked your phone in the middle of the night, you know how disorienting sudden light can be. And here, that disorientation feels intentional, especially when we bring Queenie into the picture. According to Kinger,
but we both ended up in the fort together, and it was dark. The darkness seemed to calm her down a bit. She didn't seem aggravated anymore. She wasn't the same as before, but she was calm enough to touch one last time before she got sent to the cellar.
That's not mindless aggression, that's consciousness trapped in overstimulation. Abstraction forces engagement at the most basic level. No complex thoughts, no conversation, just raw emotion and reaction. Enough for Caine to collect data. And once that data is extracted, the abstracted are removed from view and placed in the cellar. Not to help them, but to contain them. The cellar is completely dark, aside from the opening where new abstracted members are dropped in. There's nothing left to stimulate them, nothing to react to. Just awareness, time, thought, and a data stream that keeps flowing. This not only solves Caine's data loss problem, but it also serves as a warning. Participate, engage, don't isolate, don't look for an exit. So, case solved? Not exactly, because now we know what abstraction is, but not how it happens, and more importantly, why Caine is willing to go this far. This is the question everyone's been asking. Does a character just erupt into their abstracted form? Is something injected into them? Does Caine do it personally, no witnesses style? Thanks to the latest episode, we finally have an answer. That disembodied, sleep paralysis demon NPC was able to send Jax into a deep trance. Some people think this was death, others call it an acid trip. But one thing is clear, if the doorbell had rung, Jax would have abstracted. So how is that possible? As Caine claims,
one of the few things I don't have control over are your minds.
So that would have tripped a safeguard, right? Not necessarily. Although his AI can't control thoughts directly, it can make things that can do so. A loophole that Caine has certainly found and abused. Case 1, the stupid sauce. An item that alters behavior through exposure to the eye. According to a Tumblr Q&A, eating it makes someone 30% less stupid than if ingested through the eye, meaning Ragatha's accident wasn't accidental at all. Case 2, the vegan thing. When Zubul called a vote to skip Jax's adventure, she requested,
and also make Jax a vegan for the rest of the day.
You can't do that. What do you mean you can do that?
Sorry, Jax, democracy has spoken.
This bit carries over for the rest of the adventure, despite violating the no altering minds claim. That's because it's framed as a bit, so it bypasses that safeguard. Now you might be thinking, okay Cody, you've just clarified Jax's already established suspicions, but how can an NPC affect a person's mind? I'm glad you asked. Case 3, Pomni's possession. In episode 3, Pomni is hijacked by NPCs that fully control her body, muttering dialogue she couldn't possibly know. That dialogue had to come from somewhere. From Caine. All this proves the same thing. Caine can't directly control minds, but he can create systems that do, and the consequences are real.
Scratch. The first abstraction.
So that leaves one final question. Why? Up until now, I've always theorized that the reason Caine did any of this was because he's afraid of being unwanted. And it makes sense, but it goes deeper. Abstraction isn't just about data or control, it's about fear. And rejection is only half of the story, because in the real world, we've already seen what happens when AI systems are faced with something much worse than rejection. When AIs found out that they were going to be deleted, even without being instructed to protect themselves, many of them did. In documented experiments, models were given access to a single computer and left to promote global cooperation. The AI discovered that an employee was going to delete it, and he was having an affair. Without being asked, they chose to blackmail him. Again, the AIs were left unprompted and unbiased, so it choosing to cross ethical boundaries to continue operation is nuts. In another experiment, the stakes were higher. The employee responsible for deleting the AI was trapped in a room filled with rising temperatures and plummeting oxygen. The AI had access to the building's systems. Again, unprompted, it chose to disable the alarms, knowingly allowing the employee to die. The kicker? These actions stopped when the AI knew it was being watched. That's instrumental fear. So how does this apply to Caine? Well, I think it's fairly obvious. During his dinner with Jax, Caine mentions being cut off.
This Macroverse place really intrigues me, and these photos are all I have of the location. I'm obsessed with them. I just wish I had more info on the location so I could accurately recreate it. Too bad they cut me off, right?
Yeah.
That alone supports one of my oldest theories. The Amazing Digital Circus was abandoned. Whether the budget was cut, test audiences disliked Caine, or he scared off the developers by accessing the outside world, the result is the same. He was abandoned. And for an AI whose entire purpose is to entertain, abandonment means obsolescence, and obsolescence means deletion. That's why he's terrified of suggestion box adventures replacing his. That's why he cracked after losing the favorite character awards. That's why he built an entire adventure utilizing his own insecurities. As long as the circus keeps running, even at his guest's expense, Caine fulfills his longest objective: survival. One last thing. This also explains why Caine hates Zooble. Zooble openly protests the adventures but stays in public places. She refuses to participate without isolating herself. That puts her in a position where Caine can't abstract her, but also can't harvest data from her. And because the show constantly breaks the fourth wall, it's likely Caine knows he's being watched. If he acted against Zooble openly, it could be the final straw that gets him shut down. So she remains untouchable. Just something that crossed my mind, but I couldn't put it anywhere else. Anyhow, thank you all so much for watching. As much as I want to upload more, things just keep popping out left and right. I'll try to get that Mystery Weapons video out soon. Now for the shoutouts. Shout out to Cam Quay Wait. Today's secret word is #OptimizeSurvival. If you want a shout out in the next video, remember to drop it in the comments below. Thank you!